So with the river cruise down the mighty Mississippi under my belt, I decided to do something that I had never done before. And no, that wasn't hitting a morning gentleman's club. I doubt if they even have such things, even in New Orleans. No, I was going to do something even more daring. I wanted to zip through the skies a bit. Now, I had never experienced the rush of a zip line before. So I figured zipping on a wire over the Louisiana swampland, well, that just might be a good place to start. Now, this was the Zip NOLA. N-O-L-A, NOLA. Zip New Orleans, Louisiana. N-O-L-A. Took me forever to figure that out. Anyway, they got 5 zip lines strung out over the beautiful southern swamplands, covering a half a mile of zipping pleasure. And for an added bonus and more thrills, they claim that one of the local alligators just hangs out in the swamplands under that zip line. I guess the critter's just waiting for the line to break. Don't think that's going to happen though. As far as I know, Zip NOLA is the only zip line around New Orleans, and the whole place looks, well, pretty new. And when you're zipping 50 feet in the air over alligator-infested swamplands, you kind of want that new smell to still be, well, fresh in the air, right? Of course, compared to everything else I was seeing in New Orleans, pretty new meant that it was built, well, after the War of 1812.
This is the zip line. I'm going up here later on, in a few minutes. Goes on down there and somewhere off into those woods, or maybe those woods. Some lady just told me there's an alligator down here named Richard. Do you see Richard the alligator? Should I call his name? Sir Richard. Okay. This is what we're going to do today.
My zip group consisted of some lady who was filling up her bucket list for her birthday, a dad and daughter who were in town for a wedding, a couple of couples, and 2 cute little guides who gave us the lowdown on how to zip. And oh my, zip we did. Now, feeling the need to be daring, I was doing the zips while hanging on. Hanging upside down, and just hanging in what they call the spider zip. After all, I had an audience to entertain. I had to do something cool.
Woo! Oh my God, he did it. Oh, wow.
Now, this was my first zip lining thrill, and I had a freaking blast. Now, this is certainly something you can do with a group or as a solo. Although some might find the act of zipping through the air to be a bit terrifying, hoofing it up those 50 feet of stairs is probably the most horrifying sight for most. But in order to zip down, one must first step up. Indeed, zipping works on gravity, and there's a few steps to hack up. Now, once I made it up all those steps, the act of hanging in the air was, well, a bit relaxing. Now, this probably is not the thrill that one wants to look for when nursing a Bourbon Street hangover, but it's certainly a thrill ride for the nature lover and adrenaline junkie. My biggest fear wasn't crashing down into the swamplands. I was far more concerned about losing my high-dollar prescription sunglasses here. I don't remember where I ate lunch, or even if I ate lunch. You see, being a solo traveler, the ritzy restaurants tend to shoo me out the door. They're looking for the big parties and the big tippers. I didn't care because I had another swamp adventure waiting for me. So back to the swamplands I headed. Now, years ago, I took a leisurely boat tour through the Louisiana swamplands. But this time, I was feeling the need for speed. And that meant airboat speed. Now, these boats always confuse me a bit. They don't have a propeller, they have a big fan. Thus the name, airboat.
Okay, now we got the airboat tour. I guess it goes that way. I doubt it goes that way. That's a heck of a propeller. Wow.
Once again, I forgot to bring my jacket, and I was freezing again while I was zipping out to the swamplands at 35 miles an hour. I did bring a cap with me though, but I was told to keep it under the seat if I ever wanted to see it again. Whew, that wind. Woo! Yeah, those rides tend to get a bit breezy and wet. Not only was I feeling the water, but I was tasting it as well. Suddenly, I wanted to yell out, "There's salt in this swamp water!" Ooh, it's a brackish water. Now, my guide took us deep into the swampland, and even though the ride was a total rush, he killed the engine a bit and gave us a little rundown on the place and even pointed out an alligator or two. Now, these big dudes were just chilling and acted like they could really care less if we were there or not. Then we fired up the fan and zipped out of the swampland and into the marshlands for a little change of scenery. If zipping over the swamps on a zip line isn't your thing, zipping across the water on an airboat is an awesome experience. We even got to meet the guide's pet alligator. Apparently, the guy ran an alligator refuge.
The haunted sanctuary. Okay. Only in New Orleans, right? Ooh, there's a mirror.
However, if hanging out in the swamplands ain't your thing, there's always the dark side of New Orleans. Now, the Big Easy is known as one of the most haunted cities in the United States. And I wanted to meet the spooks and hear all the unsavory, ghostly, creepy, sinister details. So, to start things off, I booked a spot on the New Orleans Ghost, Voodoo, Vampire Walking Tour. Wow. Now there's a mouthful. So after stumbling out of one of the local bars with some rather potent adult beverage that I couldn't pronounce, I joined a pretty large group of daring souls, and we all ventured around the French Quarter while hearing the haunted tales of sadistic torture, murder, vampires, and just your normal creepy stuff. Now, one of the most famous stops on any New Orleans haunted tour is the notoriously creepy home of Delphine Leloria, or something like that. This was the crazy and sadistic southern socialite who got her kicks by torturing her slaves up in her attic, sometimes during her social gatherings. Such a grisly tale was made famous in the American Horror Story when Kathy Bates brought the loony old woman to the TV screen. Apparently, the crazy old woman wasn't too crazy about Kathy Bates playing her, and she still haunts the place. Now that's all we need. A judgmental ghost. Now our guide told us to check out the boarded up window up on the 3rd floor. Okay, not sure what the significance of that was. It just looked like someone knocked out a window and was too lazy to get it fixed. Apparently, the people who own this place just stay there on occasion.
So, did you ever watch that season of American Horror Story that had Kathy Bates in it? Well, this is the house. Pretty creepy. And those who own it right now refuse to live in it. Now check this window out. Yeah, how creepy is that?
Then there was the Ursuline Convent, where vampires were said to have lived. Wait a minute? Vampires in a convent? Isn't that a conflict of interest? Okay, when New Orleans was coming to be, it was just a bunch of dudes. A bunch of dudes who couldn't persuade women to come to an alligator and mosquito-infested swamp and call it home sweet home. This meant that the women had to be imported. So, a bunch of young, tender teenage girls were shipped over from Europe to find husbands. By the time these attractive young ladies had made the treacherous journey across the Atlantic, they were pale from the lack of sunlight, a bit malnourished with sunken eyes, and were probably suffering from scurvy. So instead of looking young and beautiful, well, they looked a bit like, vampires. We also saw where an ex-soldier met his end by jumping off a hotel after leaving his wife in pieces. Literally. So with a slight buzz, while relishing in the Big Easy vibe, I learned accounts of murder, torture, and skinny teenage girls that look like vampires. Now that's a haunted tour.
This is an old convent in New Orleans built back in the 1700s. Has something to do with vampires. Actually, it looks a lot creepier at night. Remember that window there? That's the creepy one. Yeah. All buildings look kind of creepy at night.